that when I try to share something, when I upload a observation, try to share, I got this error message. It says, "Oops, sorry." Let's see. Oops, there was an unexpected error. And I couldn't figure out how to get around that.
Did you try doing the observation again later? Because sometimes iNaturalist
Yeah, I did, and it worked. But that happened to me on a particular occasion, like 4 times in a row, and I was pretty frustrated.
Well, in a situation like that, it's probably a problem with iNat, and you just need to come back later.
Okay, we're got another guy joining our group here. It's almost 6:30, isn't it?
Well, my husband made the comment that perhaps we should have just waited till Monday for this, because it is Friday night and it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, I had a couple of emails from people that declined and said that they couldn't make it tonight, but it is what it is. And one of them was Eric. Tom, how you doing?
Doing well, Bill. Thank you.
Boy, you look good. You must have your lighting all figured out.
Actually, it's just the light from the computer. That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw these. Now that I look at you, I see these 2 little squares, one in each of your glasses. So it's probably the computer screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You doing any fishing?
Actually, I did a little bit today, just a little pond fishing. So
yeah,
some bluegill.
Yeah. Boy, I've been tearing them up. I've caught more fish in the last 60 days than I caught in the last 3 years.
Really? Really?
Where at? Well, I got a bunch of gravel pits around here that I've got connections that I go into, and that's where I've been catching the big numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
But on Monday, I think it was this past Monday, I live on Landon Lake, and I just slipped my kayak in and went out there, and I caught 2 humongous largemouth bass. Wow,
really?
One was about 20 inches, the other was 18. Now we've been joined by my wife, Kathy, who's just loaded with questions.
Okay.
And she's tired of hearing about those 2 largemouth bass. So
I bet she wants to do observations of things other than fish.
Oh, here's Ken Spiker with his trumpet playing in Cincinnati. He's another one of our buffer guys. So Ken, how you doing? Oh, he hasn't got the audio on yet. Kathy, how do you like the lighting down here, downstairs? I'm not hearing your audio. I'm hearing it through the door, but not. You must be muted.
Okay, what I'm saying is you shouldn't be eating on a Zoom meeting.
You said I shouldn't be drinking. You didn't say anything about eating.
No drinking or eating, right, Mary?
I don't know. I have a can of sparkling water.
Well, that's different.
I have a glass of sparkling water. All right.
Yeah, Kathy, that's why I don't show video.
You're a smart man, Ken.
Well, can you play something for us, Ken?
I'm all tooted out today.
Well, I have 9:30 or 6:31. I'm a patient fellow, though. Tom, I'm just curious. You got some questions you're gonna throw out here?
Well, I may as we go. I don't know if I have a lot, but yeah, I may.
Mary, it might be helpful if you wanted to enable the chat function too. People might feel comfortable typing in some questions.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you all, Eric can't make it tonight, so you're dealing with a crippled host here. So I think what we're talking about is texting, right? Enable the texting so somebody can type it.
Yeah, it's called chat. It's that icon, Bill, at the bottom of the screen, the chat icon.
Yes, there we go.
If you enable that,
Okay.
It looks like it's still disabled, but if you enable that, people
Well,
can
I
type in
just
questions
did
throughout the
enable it, but I
meeting.
don't know if, oh, it says chat's disabled. Hmm. Well, I don't know how to fix that.
Well, Eric may have disabled it when he, in his settings,
Yeah, I know that, but he's not available. It says,
right?
it says close or pop out. Let me try pop out. Disabled. Okay. Well, that was a darn good idea, Tim.
And the other thing you can do, Bill, is that participants icon at the bottom.
Mm,
If you click on that, people can they can hit a icon to raise their hand, indicating they've got a question too.
okay, I just did that. I've got all the participants on here.
But it
And
looks
we're
like
reco-
some of that's disabled as well, is what it looks like.
Yeah, well, that must be the way Eric set it up, but we are recording. Eric, you're not on there anywhere, are you? No, he's not able to join us. Well, why don't we begin? Anybody want to throw one out? I've got a short list of things that I think might be of interest, but I'd like to invite somebody else to go first.
Mary, I have a question.
Okay.
So this is regarding the Warren County Park District.
Okay.
If we would want to, I'm a member of Friends of the Warren County Park and an OCDN.
Mhm.
And if we would want to set up a way for people who visit High C Park, which is one of our parks, to record their observations,
Mhm.
can we do, how do we do that
You're talking about a project, right?
project?
Yes, projects are really easy to set up. Let me go to projects and then share my screen with you. Let's see here. Do you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. I need to bring the control back. Y'all are going to make me have to put on my readers. Okay. Excuse the look there. Okay. Share screen. Okay.
Great.
Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Starting a project is as easy as
Wow.
start a project.
Okay.
Now, the type of project you're going to want to do, there are 3 different types. There's a collection project, which is what all the state parks projects are set up as. And what those do is they collect every observation. So say I set up a project for your park. I would set up the parameter, the boundaries of your park, and every observation that is uploaded into iNaturalist within those boundaries is automatically added to the park, whether someone wants their, okay, people can in their settings, personal settings, they can keep their observations from going into things unless they say so, but most people do not do that. So assuming that they have not limited their observations, any observation made will automatically go into your project. So we could set up a project for your park, make it a collection project, and then you can take that project then and share that on your social media. Do you have a Facebook page for that park?
Yeah. Yes.
You can share it on your Facebook page, invite people to join, invite people to come make observations for you. And that's what I had mentioned on Monday too about what's called bio blitzes too. You could set up like a weekend or something where you say, come join us for, do you have any events coming up soon? Anything special?
Not soon, but we always do the Great Backyard Bird Count.
Okay.
And that would be an event where people could use iNaturalist for.
Okay, so you set up what, and then a BioBlitz, which basically a BioBlitz is like a mini project within the project for a short duration of time. So you would advertise your backyard bird project and invite people to come observe as many birds and anything else as they can during that time period. As I said, you would collect any information that people would upload automatically, but inviting people to join the project makes them feel like they're part of it. And it also, I had mentioned the journal feature as well. If people join the project, they can get the notifications for any articles written that you might want to say. Maybe you want to do a daily post during your time of your backyard bird project. You know, that like a daily update or something. We've got this many birds and blah, 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 blah. They would get notification of those updates. And you could also do something where, say you had some nominal prize or giveaway or something to encourage people to come as well. But you might make it contingent upon that you have to join the project to be eligible for the prize. But you can really, really push the projects if you have an email list, through your social media. If there was like an article written about you in the local paper, there's any numbers of ways then that you could publicize that to get people involved.
Mary, I want to back up to some, you glossed over something kind of fast that I was worried about.
Okay.
And that is when you said you set up this this project and you have the parameters of the park. You know, that's what you guys did for me.
Yeah.
But can we do it for ourselves? Like, for example, the Heisey Park, will that have parameters already that'll just automatically show up, or do we have to get somebody to draw them for us?
Now, see, that's where Ben, with his mapping skills and everything, the state parks projects were actually very complex shape files. I mean, if you go and look at the maps, you can see that those are complex. I've created, in fact, the first couple of projects I did, I actually went in and hand drew an iNaturalist, because by clicking and dragging points, you can capture an area. So a simple small area like a city park or something would actually be quite easy for the user to draw in themselves. It may also be something where it's already a place created in iNaturalist, and if it is, you just have to select that place. So you can do it without having to have a GIS major do your map for you.
It's in a menu somewhere when you're setting up a project and invites you to draw the area or something like that?
You would have to, I would need to actually like go into making a project for it. Let me go to one of the previous projects. Okay. Is anyone familiar with Pyramid Hill in Hamilton?
Yes, yes.
This was one of the first projects I did, was for Pyramid Hill. And this was a project, as you can see, most species, Mary Spillman, most observations. This is one of my haunts. So if you go down to this map, do you see how it's a really simple shape?
Yeah.
It's not complex like the state park shapes. So basically, I started at a point up here along 128 or whatever that is, and I pulled out, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just a
point.
It's just a very rough shape, and I've captured here obviously more than the actual park, you know, because I ran it along the highway and I took it down to the fishery place that used to be there, and then, you know, on the northern end is a church property based, you know, I bounded it within streets basically and said this is Pyramid Hill. But I also looked at it too, that, you know, if someone's capturing a deer along the road running into the, you know, for my purposes, close was good enough. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, Mary,
yeah.
So we can do this, right, when we set up our project?
You can do it. And if you want help, you can email me anytime. And Bill has my number, you can call. So.
This looks like a Google Earth picture.
It is. That's the mapping that iNaturalist uses is from Google Earth.
So we could just go to Google Earth and zoom in on this thing and see where the park is, and just use the picture to help us draw from point
Well,
to point.
if you zoom in on this,
Yeah.
so you can see here, you know, here's my roads and everything that I based it off of. And by having roamed the park so much, I knew, like right here along Smith Road, there's a fence line in these trees. And from this fence line, if you're in the park, you can see Smith Road. So I knew that I was safe to make this line across here.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can zoom in, really, you zoom in close enough and you're going to get like the features of the park and everything. So it makes it really not difficult to draw in a simple shape like that.
That is so cool. Now, another question is, we have several parks. We have like about 17 parks in the Warren County Park District. And so it would, and they are scattered, you know, throughout the county. So in order to be able to see what's in the county parks, we probably would have to do each park individually, correct?
And at that point, each individual park would be a collection project. So say you have 10 parks, you have park 1 through 10. But then I said there were several types of projects you can do. There is also what's called an umbrella project. So you would have a larger umbrella project called Warren County State Parks. And then your 10 small projects would fall under that umbrella project. So someone could join the larger project or any of the individual smaller projects, and you could promote them as a whole or any of the individuals. Do you get what I'm saying there? So let's go back.
Yes, I understand. That's great. That's good information.
So you could, if you had all these individual parks, you could print out a report on data from all the parks.
Yes.
And that would take only the individual boundaries of each park. It wouldn't take all the territory in between.
Yeah. So imagine like the city of Lebanon has 10 parks, just to keep the number. So you've got the boundaries of the city and you've got your 10 parks scattered around it. So you've got your umbrella project for City of Lebanon parks, metro parks, whatever they're called. So yeah, so when you search the data for the parks, it would leave out all the residential and commercial and everything. It would only capture those park areas.
I'm thinking along the same lines for our fish identification on the Little Miami River and tributaries. We may end up with people who have a favorite place and they want to adopt, like Todd's Fork, and be responsible for that and have their data just for that.
Yeah.
So we could do that on our own. We could have these individual parameters, these little legal descriptions, like, and keep track of, get reports for just those things, those places. And they would be within the Little Miami tributary, main stem and tributaries, larger project.
Yeah, and then at that point, we would make that an umbrella project then.
Yeah. So that's one of the 3 kinds of projects.
And then the third project is a traditional sort of project, which I would not recommend. In fact, my projects started out as traditional and I changed them to collection because there's just entirely too much hands-on work involved in maintaining a traditional project, because you're actually having to add observations to it yourself. And I don't even want to go into it unless there's interest in it, because it's just too much work. So, and in fact, iNaturalist doesn't even promote it themselves anymore because it's a lot of work. So, okay, do we have any other questions?
Mary, how long have you been using this?
I have been using this since, let's find my profile. Let's see, let's move this over here. Okay. Profile. I have been a user since July 22nd, 2017. So
So
almost 3 years.
for the most part, have you just kind of walked yourself through this?
This has been a self-taught thing.
Okay.
You know, I'm, like I said, I'm a volunteer naturalist in Ohio and South Carolina, both. And I actually read about iNaturalist. I read an article somewhere about it, and I was like, that sounds really cool. And I went and found it and started exploring it, and I learned so much.
Yeah.
Just by my own observations, IDing other people's observations, and I've gotten to know other users as well. So if you look down here and you see that, like, I'm following 13 people.
Right.
Only a couple of these people do I actually know. Others are people, well, there's Bill and Kathy right there. And he suddenly has jumped from 9 to 21 observations. A couple of these people I've never met. But then, one of them is a biologist with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. I'm very much into horseshoe crabs, and I've participated in counting them during the spawning season, blah, 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 blah. So he became acquainted with my observations through iNaturalist because he was also a user, and we connected on here. And we are now basically, I've been invited because of this to go on outings with the DNR in South Carolina. I've learned a lot from him. I have made a point of, when I find odd observations having to do with horseshoe crabs, you know, I'll tag him in it to draw his attention to it. And this Mike Ligotti here, he's an expert in crabs. I've learned a lot from him, following him. Yeah, you connect with people on here, and you learn a lot from them too.
Facebook for a naturalist, right?
Facebook for a naturalist, or nature nerd is.
Yes. Yeah.
Nature nerd engaging in nature porn, as my husband calls it. So I get my morning daily porn almost every day. So.
Hey, Mary, I actually struggled a little bit with that because I wanted, just for kicks, I was going to follow Bill.
Okay.
I can find Bill Schroeder fine, but I couldn't find a way of actually following Bill.
Okay, go to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you see up here on the top of his profile. So if I stop following him, and then it says follow Bill Kathy, all I do is click it.
Oh, I don't remember seeing that. Okay, I'll have to look for that again.
Okay, yeah, it's just up there. So now I'm following him again.
Okay.
And yeah, you can search people. Let's see, let's go to community, people. So if there's someone you think is a user, you can type in their name or email address and search them out and follow them if you desire. So
I also tried to list, Mary, one observation under the Little Miami Conservancy Project, but that didn't seem to take either.
okay, let's see.
Was it an observation that you made?
Yeah, in the Little Miami.
Okay. Here, I'll share what one of my issues was. I really haven't done much in the Little Miami because it's been too high and I've been having too much success fishing elsewhere around my house, which is not in the territory. But when I loaded an observation and I put in the data and the picture and all that stuff, it came out with this is probably, and then it said black bass or largemouth bass or something like that. But it also said needs identification. So I was just kind of intuitively floundering around, and I saw that there was a share button. And when I hit the share button, it gave me a weird answer. It said, oops, there was an unexpected error. Try later or something like that, you know. And that happened to me like 5 times in a row when I uploading pictures. So I was kind of frustrated, and I was going to ask Mary about that. We talked right before 6:30, and she said, did you try it later? And I said, yes. And the truth is when I tried later, I got much better results And I now have, I think, 9 or 10 research grade observations. So I guess my question is, does it take time to do this stuff? You know, I mean, you get an answer in less than 2 minutes about what it probably is, but you can't get anything other than, we think it might be this. And until some time goes by and you get some verification from other people who look at your picture and they verify it. They say, yeah, that is a largemouth bass, or that's a Kentucky spotted bass, or something like that.
Okay.
Now, am I describing that
Well,
correctly?
the error you received, as I explained to you, was probably on iNaturalist's part, because for working on their own system or whatever, there will be times when it's hard to upload data to them. Or it might have been a high, heavy use time when lots of people were trying to upload. And, you know, it can only do so much because this platform's used around the world.
Mhm.
So, but you got into it later and were able to upload your observation later. Now on the needs ID, you know, so you put your picture of your fish up, and it wasn't, you know, iNaturalist uses algorithms to come up with the IDs, and that is beyond me explaining to anybody. I don't know that my nerdy husband could explain that to you either, but there's algorithms that are used to make identifications. And if it's not sure of the ID, it gives you the top 10 choices, and you may select one of those, or if you think you know what it is, select it. And when it says needs ID, that just means that it is not research grade yet. It needs that second or third person to come in and help you firm up that identification. So to say that it needs ID is not a problem. That just means it's not research grade yet.
Well, can I ask another follow-up question then?
Okay.
What's the significance of research grade? I mean, what does that do for you? What's the point? And
research grade observations are the ones then that will be pulled into the larger databases. Those are the ones that are good to use for scientific studies, you know, whatnot and so forth. So to go back to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. So they're using iNaturalist to track mating behavior of horseshoe crabs. So within the 3-month period in the spring that they're spawning, there will be thousands of observations, but only the ones that are research grade, the ones that are verified that they are indeed what they are said to be, are the only ones that are really valuable to the DNR for their research purposes. So out of 1,000 observations, say 800 of them are research grade. Those are the ones they'll use. And they won't use the 200 that aren't research grade.
I'm happy that they're doing that, but I never had any aspirations that they would use anything I did to rely on. So I think this is really an educational project for us. We want to learn how to do this, and we want to learn what species are there and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to, we don't expect to produce data that is relied upon to make decisions by fish biologists or naturalists or Department of Natural Resources or anything. I'm speaking for myself. My dream was to have some kind of a program that kids would get excited about. The kids that are playing video games and shooting each other and all this kind of stuff on on TV might get excited if they knew.
And that's what's perfect about iNaturalist, is that it's using technology to connect kids or their parents or anyone to nature.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, everyone's so technology based anymore. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, someone throw something else out. Oh wait, there was a question about a project, an observation not going into a project.
Yeah, that was me, Mary. I tried to put one of my observations in that Little Miami Conservancy project, but it didn't take.
Now, have you joined the project?
Yes.
Okay. Let's find your,
What was the observation? Picture of a fish?
Yeah, it was a channel catfish down there by Bass Island, Bill.
Wow. I was just browsing around and I saw a channel catfish picture in our project, but I think it was older. I didn't think it was yours. I would have recognized your name. Yeah, these pictures were cool. I don't know what ray fin fishes are. That looks like a skeleton of a dead fish.
okay, ray finned fishes is just referring to the broader group of fish, the ones with the fins. So
Okay. That's kind of what I thought.
okay, so I put that in as a broad search for fish. So so yeah, the last observation that went up for fish was 18 days ago. Unless you weren't actually within the boundaries of the park, perhaps.
Now scroll back down. That's one of our buff members there.
Where
with
here?
a smallmouth bass that he caught last summer.
Okay.
And he took the picture and I guess he uploaded it or somebody did. So it's in the database, but it says 8 months ago, right? 8
Yes.
months, something like, yeah, last fall.
So that's, yeah, that's the
That's
observation.
Boone Keck.
So what is the gentleman's name?
Boone Keck, K-E-C-K.
Fly Fishing Boone?
He may have called himself that.
I'd say that's probably his username is Fly Fishing Boone. So
Yeah. He has 0 people following him. We're going to have to change that.
well, pull up that observation and all you gotta do is click follow him.
Yeah.
He also only has 5 observations up.
Yeah.
But unless you were outside the boundaries of the park, I don't know why it didn't go into there. It should have gone in regardless of whether you had joined it or not. So I would suggest maybe try, do you still have it on your phone?
Yeah, I can try it again, Mary.
Yeah, why don't you try it again?
And it was caught out of the Little Miami River.
Yep, down by Bass Island, right by Bass Island, Bill.
Yeah, that ought to go. Yeah, why don't you try to upload it again? And just as an experiment, I'll try to find it and verify it, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens with that and whether or not it reaches a research grade. Probably should. Was it a channel cat or?
Yeah, it was channel cat. I'll retry it again this weekend, Bill.
Okay.
Well, that's one, Bill, that if he gets it up and you find it and you agree with him, yeah, that's a channel catfish.
Yeah.
So let's go like here to this observation that's not research grade yet. That just looks like a pile of mess to me. So,
Yeah. But I see a fin.
yep, it's a fin. And this very well may be as far as it gets, is that it's a fish with a fin. But say that they thought, you know what, let me find a better one that's not just a pile of muck. Let's see here. Okay. This one. This young man's fish is not research grade yet.
I really like his fish though.
Do you know what it is?
That's a saw guy, isn't it? You think that's a saw guy? I don't think it's a walleye because the eye doesn't reflect the way that does. And a saw guy is a crossbreed, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
That's the cross between the walleye and the sauger. You're right, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's some conversation. Oh, right here, someone says saw guy.
Yeah.
Says it's not an option, which if it's a crossbreed probably is why it's not an
That's
option.
exactly what it is. It's a cross between a walleye and a sauger. And they don't propagate. They're stocked.
Yeah, so you
So
say,
we're not going to get anywhere with that probably.
yeah, so you say it's a cross between a walleye and, see, I will be honest, I don't know fish very
Yeah,
well.
walleye and a sauger. Those are
Okay.
two different fishes, and they crossbreed them and stick them in the river for fishermen to have fun.
Okay, Well, see, so pike perches is probably, well, will be as close as that gets then.
Mhm.
But here, you know, I mentioned that it then, so it says it's pretty sure it's here. The number one choice after that is walleye, but
Mhm.
it would be incorrect to ID this as walleye if it's a
Yeah.
Unit 2. So, oh, and then there's the other, the sauger. So,
Yeah.
but you can see people had conversation back and forth about making the ID here. And that is a fine looking fish.
Well, he's learned to stick his arms way out and make it look big.
Okay. Anything else? Anything you want to explore or anything while we're here?
Well, I have another thing on my list here.
Okay.
If we have a project, and I think I know the answer to this, if we, being Little Miami Conservancy, we have a project, can we filter the reports? For example, ask only for a certain fish like smallmouth bass or
Yes.
and can we ask only for fish on a certain tributary like Todd's Fork?
Okay. That's where it's going to get a little more difficult, but you can certainly,
Do that by creating a project for Todd's Fork.
yeah. If you have an area of specific interest like that, you can certainly limit it like that. Okay.
Another thing I'm interested in doing is putting in, we talked about ask for a certain species like largemouth bass, but there are other species that are much more rare than that, and it would be of interest to find out where they are. There's something called a mad tom, which is about the size of a minnow, but it looks like a catfish. And they're kind of rare.
Yeah.
We would ask for the mad tom. It'd be interesting to find out where they hang out, where they have been seen.
Well, that's going to be, you know, if you've done your search, like here, you can pinpoint where observations are just by zooming in on the map.
Right.
So if you've searched it and you've limited it down to what was that, the 39 observations of fish that we had, you can look on the map where they've been found at.
Right.
And now hopefully by publicizing this, you're going to end up with a whole lot more than the 39 observations that are there right now.
Yeah.
Which will help you look at things. But
now, these observations are all different species. They're not any one species, right?
Yeah, well, that was because I just typed in fishes. So if you searched for a particular, yeah, it would give you just those. And then you can zoom in and see where they've been found at. And as you can see, you can zoom in really close on these maps. You knowing, you know, your forks and all that better, you're going to know what you're looking at here. And if you've got an observation over here, you'll know what that is. I don't know what that is. So
that squiggly line that has hardly any observations is
the one I'm
Todd's Fork. That's Todd's Fork.
Okay, so that's the one you're interested in?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be really good for smallmouth. They come out of the main stem and go up there chasing bait fish, and there are a lot of them up there, but I don't know what else is up there. It's a small, it's one of the larger tributaries, but in the summertime, it's so small you can't even kayak it. You have to wait for it to rain before you.
Okay. Well, let's see what's been observed on.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, there's not much here.
Oh, these are bugs. Yeah, that's a.
Oh, you're gonna find. Do we have any people out there who are into the dragonflies?
Well, we're all interested in bugs.
Yeah, well, it appears that all your observations on Todd Fork right now are probably just dragonflies.
Mhm.
Oh, nope, you got a
There's
giant.
a mussel. That's of great interest. And incidentally, while we're here, this group, I think some of you know, um, I'm not sure that you were on this list, Tim, but I'll add you that we're having 2 Zoom classes done by the Columbus outfit called Midwest Biodiversity Institute. And these guys are top-end fish biologists who do this kind of stuff. They do electrofishing and so on and so forth. And it's going to be free. And it's like this. It's because Little Miami has paid for it. Little Miami Conservancy, we bought a package, and they're actually going to come down here and show us how to use backpack electrofishers and how to take care of the fish and how to photograph them and stuff like that. But before they do that, we're going to have 2 Zoom sessions in which they're going to give us the fundamentals of fish identification. And they're going to do it not from a PhD's standpoint, but from a layperson's standpoint. They don't expect us to memorize the species, but they're going to help us understand how to figure it out and how to use resources and so on. So I'll see that everybody here, I know, Tom, I think you already responded, didn't you, and said you wanted to come to do those. Is Tom
Yes, I
still?
did. Yep.
Yeah, but it might be something you would like to, Tim, because these guys really know what they're doing and they have a great reputation.
Yeah, I would enjoy that, Bill. Thank you.
So I don't know how I got off on that. I guess.
So has everyone gotten an opportunity to play with it? iNaturalist, that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have kind of an interesting story. I've been using it for about a year, I think. And we learned about it when we took our OCVN class at the Cincinnati Nature Center. And so my favorite owl is the Cooper's hawk, or the hawk is the Cooper's hawk. And so one day I found a hawk sitting on the rail of my deck. And this is the first observation that I had. So I observed, and I took the picture, I downloaded it, I identified it, and I identified it as a Cooper's hawk, which was what I thought it was. And so this is where I learned about how people who are smarter than I am can tell me what it really is. Mm-hmm. So I got a comment from somebody. This is so interesting what happens here. Because I got a comment from someone who said, no, that's not a Cooper's hawk. That is a red-shouldered hawk. And I thought, and I looked at that, I was just so sure that I was right. So I thought, well, I'm going to look and see who this person is that thinks that he's right and I'm wrong. So I went to this person's profile, and I looked him up, and he is a professor of biology at Ohio State University with about 400 observations. And I thought, yep, I guess he's right and I'm wrong. But I thought that was it was so interesting. I didn't know that that's what happened because it was my first time using iNaturalist.
Often in the conversation too, he might have added, have a look at this or that to help you make the ID. And this is one of the things where I've learned so much from this is people that know more than you are helping you learn, and you in turn will help someone who doesn't know as much. Because, we all have niches, we all have particular interests. And it all comes together in a happy marriage on iNaturalist.
I kind of looked over her shoulder when she did all that, and I think a very influential thing was that there were other people who also responded.
Mhm.
And most of them said, you know, Cooper's hawks are really rare in your area. You
Yeah.
hardly ever see one. So geography had something to do with it. And I
Yeah.
think that's why they require you to know where it came from. That's part of the criteria that's automatically uploaded, because if you take a picture and set it up there, they know exactly where you were, because that's part of the data that goes up.
Yeah. Well, something that I have found fascinating, you know, climate change is bringing, you know, changes to where animals are, their times of mating. Just it's having all kinds of effects on animal behavior. And what I've noticed down in South Carolina, I have had a number of observations now of critters that should not have been in South Carolina. They should have been farther south. But through, you know, the consensus of people conversing on these observations through iNaturalist is like, oh yeah, that moon snail that should only be in Florida is now found as far north as South Carolina. So iNaturalist is also tracking changes over time through the observations like this. And, you know, it's been really cool that I've had a couple of observations like that I shouldn't have had, but kind of disconcerting at the same time because they shouldn't have been there. But fascinating nonetheless. Let's see, I wanted to do, so has everyone had a chance to put up some observations?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, something I wanted to mention about putting up observations. I have a couple that I did just today. You can see that photo is not very good. That's blurry. But is about, I think I mentioned it on Monday about getting multiple shots of things. So here are some mushrooms that were growing at the base of a tree in my yard. So I took a picture from the top. Okay, not likely to get a research grade ID just from this photo because there's just not enough information here. So I took a picture of it from the side. Now this actually wasn't a very cluttered photo, but lots of times if there's lots of other things around it, it will actually make an observation hard to be identified by iNaturalist because it won't know exactly what to identify. But our phones are so great that
Yeah.
before I even upload it, I can take out all the stuff around it and put up just the mushroom,
Yeah.
which makes ID easier yet. And then I get it from yet another angle.
Yeah.
So these pictures combined will help me get a research grade ID at some point. Whereas this, if that was the only picture I put up, I'd likely get gilled mushrooms, maybe parasol mushrooms, and that'd be the extent of it.
That reminds me of a question that I have on my list I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
I assume that the better the picture, the better off you're going to be through this process. So sometimes I can't really get the picture that I like. If I'm sitting in a kayak, I put the fish between my knees and take a picture of it, so on and so forth. On a couple of occasions, my pictures have been too dark and also kind of confusing. So what I do is I crop them and try to eliminate everything that's not pertinent to the fish. But then sometimes I also fool around with the contrast or the lighting in order to
there's a
bring
lot you can do on your phone to edit your photos.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, I mean, I have not had a lot of success with some of that. And I'm wondering if you use photo editing to change the lighting and bring out certain details, does that hurt your chances? I mean, they can recognize that you've done that probably.
Now, if you're making your photo better, make your photo better. And I've actually gotten some comments from other users about that my photos were good, And it's not that I have an iPhone, and here's butterweed that I pulled from the bottom of my driveway where the driveway meets the street. So this one I took yesterday. I cropped out everything around it and had just the butterweed. And I'm simplifying I'm editing most of my photos before I put them up, which is another reason why I don't do many from the field. I'll do them later at home, because I'll go through my photos and I'll edit everything before I ever start putting them into iNaturalist.
I do that too. Yeah. Have you guys, Tom and Tim, have you had any difficulty distinguishing a white crappie from a black crappie? They both look alike to me. and I was wondering, I caught a couple of crappies, and as I mess with the light, I can make them look either white or dark, and I don't. There must be other ways that you can distinguish between them. Anybody know anything about that?
I've taken
eyeballing them. It is tough, though.
Yeah.
Mary?
I was hoping that this would be one of those things that would help with that, because, I've gotten seemingly two or three different species out of the same body of water.
Yeah. Especially when you get to bluegills and red ears and sunfish, they all look alike.
Right.
Mary, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
I would like to share my screen to show them pictures of this crappie that I've talked about.
And share mine.
Do you have to end share before I can do that?
You probably know more about this than I do, but I'm going to stop share.
Okay, you stop share, and then now I'll try to share.
Stop share.
Just see what happens. I don't know what's going on here.
You got to pick the right tab.
So I hit the wrong tab. Stop share. Okay, stop share. Now I'm going to share the screen again. I don't see how to get my photos. Oh, I got to get my photos up before I share, I think. Let me try this one more time. Incidentally, this minnow here was taken from Coomer. Steve Coomer's, he caught these minnows on hooks. And I wanted to figure out what it was. But let me see if I can find those fish. No, I should have planned this because I'll never find these fish. They should be right in my face here. No, I just forget that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Now you resume your sharing, if you will. That's really all the questions I have on my list. But as we discuss things, new ideas pop up into my mind. And I wanted to ask Tim, what's your favorite? When you said Bass Island, is that near where you live? Do you favor the lower river down there?
Yeah, usually I live up in Deerfield Township, Masonville.
Oh, do you?
But my kids live down in Oakley. Yeah, I'm usually down that way and down towards the park down there, Ledbetter.
I was wondering if you are interested in the East Fork, the river below the dam.
I've never fished the East Fork before, but you've mentioned Todd's Fork a couple of times. I have fished that.
Yeah, I think the East Fork is amazing. It's so beautiful. I've been 3 different times on cleanups, and I'm thinking I'm dying to fish there, but I never have. And I would mention to you that there is a cleanup coming up. I think it's on the 16th where they're going to float that river. And Buff usually joins with the Claremont County Soil and Water Conservation, puts a couple of buffers on the river. You may want to look at that.
It's been postponed, Bill.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll reschedule at some point, and we will throw that out for the clubs.
Yeah. I feel obligated to fish there now because of this fish identification thing. I will tell you that I have caught 2 big hybrid stripers just below the dam in that river. And I'll bet there are others in that river too. And it would be amazing if we could figure out some good things to know about that river, that East Fork. And since it's in Tim's area down there, maybe we could get him to go along with us somehow. Do you have a kayak or a canoe, Tim?
Yeah, I do, Bill.
Kayak?
I have a kayak, yes.
Well, they're good at social distancing. You don't have to violate any laws.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm done with my questions. And did we get your question, Tom?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you all can feel free to reach out to me. I mean, it doesn't have to be limited to tonight. So,
Oh, you're back in town now too, right?
yes, I'm back in town now. So,
Okay, that's good.
yeah, I was in my bedroom in South Carolina on Monday night. Now I'm in my office in Hamilton, Ohio.
Well, good, good.
But yeah, reach out anytime, and any assistance I can give anyone.
Well, I can tell you, Kathy and I are going to play around with creating a project, and we'll probably be reaching out.
Okay. Oh, and for any of you that are OCVNs, I mentioned this on Monday, but tonight would count as an additional hour of continuing education towards your 8-hour requirement. So just note it that you did iNaturalist for Ohio State Parks Workshop Part 2 and give yourself an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And make the Little Miami Conservancy the location, since it was.
I think we could also do that with the Monday night session,
Yep.
we did, right?
Yep. So Monday
that's
night
2
would be
hours,
an hour, and tonight would be another hour. And if we decide to do this again on Monday, I'm going to guess that would probably be an hour as well. And we just call that one Part 3.
Yeah, we may kind of like poll everybody and see if they want to resume on Monday. I'm satisfied. I appreciate all your work, and I'm pretty excited about all this. But we may see if anybody wants to do this on Monday and then just decide to do it or not do it. That suit you?
That suits me.
Okay, thanks everybody for
All right.
participating.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mary.
Have a good night, all.
Good
Very
night.
good
You're
weekend,
gonna have to leave the meeting yourself because I think Eric went out to dinner or something like that.
Okay.
And he's the guy that controls this stuff. So I'm leaving the meeting now.
Okay.
Kathy, what are you doing?
I'm leaving the meeting.
Okay. Oh, she's got her iPad.
Okay.